Hello, welcome. I'm back after another hiatus of realigning, divinely aligning always, and that alignment when we're on this journey, depending on how you're riding these waves, can be pretty consistent. So welcome, and I'm happy to be here. I've been thinking about you guys, and I've been wanting to get back on here for a while, but as you might know, I've been moving and creating new space for myself, and it's been definitely what is the word? Dynamic tension now of just holding the momentum with as much of an even pace as I can. And I got to give a shout out to working with the I Am Presence practice. It has done wonders in maintaining that internal centeredness, groundedness, stabilization through so much change and transformation. And that is really what I want to talk about today is transformation, change, and transition, and timelines. So this might be a little bit more of a personal share because sometimes I just have an easier time communicating things from that direct experience perspective. So if this resonates with you, awesome. And so thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking, giving me that thumbs up to let me know that you're resonating. Okay. So first I want to start out with we as co-creators with the universe. And when we are co-creating, we are activating change in ourselves, in our lives. We are activating and saying yes to not only transition, but ideally transformation. Whenever we do any of these things, our timelines, meaning the reality through which we are consciously living, the life stream that we are connected to, that is the life that is unfolding through us as we walk our soul presence down onto this plane. The reality that we experience has everything to do then with what's happening inside of us and what are the choices that we're making and where are we putting our attention and how are we creating with the divine, with the universe, moment to moment. So I'm going to start out by recapping. I've been recapping this for a while, it feels like, because this has been going on for a while. So 2024, spring equinox, I began to co-create my next timeline. So in co-creating my next timeline, I listened internally to what it was that my heart and my soul were calling out for. Those things aren't necessarily external, like, oh, I want this, I want that. It's listening inside to the frequency, the qualities of expression that are speaking from the internal, that are bubbling up, right? They bubble up from the soul. And the soul then says, for me, it was bubbling up with brand new life. And the qualities to that had everything to do with peaceful, easy feeling from the Eagle song. Peace, harmony, community, more movement towards an even more distant timeline, a further out timeline perhaps, of what would it be like to live more in community? What would it be like to live more connected with others, not just humans, but more connection to relational intimacy with plants, with animals, with other people. Not really communal living, but yes, like opening up, what would that look like for my blueprint? So that was in there, like, relational intimacy in other ways, and joyful flourishing, right? So if you can sense, these are frequencies. They aren't, I don't know how those are going to turn out, right? Because I trust my blueprint. We did a lot of videos last month on our divine blueprints. So I'm listening to the frequencies and the codes from my blueprint through my soul, and then I'm saying yes. I'm hearing them, I'm sensing them, and then I start allowing life to orchestrate what is in my highest good to bring about that reality. So that was spring equinox. And then summer solstice last year, I was reaffirming that with a deepening awareness of what some of this meant. Some of it was material world maturity, since I don't or didn't previously operate very much in the physical and material plane. So I knew I needed more of that. I could feel the communication from the divine saying, this is at this time, you need to ground more, right? You need to anchor more. You need to bring all of these higher dimensional frequencies and living down into the physical, which meant I had to bring forth those soul aspects. I had to allow them to anchor more fully and integrate into my own wholeness. And so now fast forward, right before summer solstice, I've landed the foundation of that brand new life. Now, everything that has taken place between spring equinox last year and summer solstice blew me away. It was like consistently what you don't see coming. Because we can't predict what and how we are meant to transform and alchemize when we are creating with the universe. We might think, oh, yeah, I know this needs to go, this needs to come in. I need to let go of this. And then I anticipate this will happen. And we might know some of it, but we're not going to know when we really surrender to it. Life knows what we truly need. And oftentimes it doesn't look like what our personality and our ego construct thinks it's going to look like. So, if we went back to last year at this time, and then Lionsgate just like put me through the deep purification ringer. And then in September, it was like what I needed for that material world maturity came in and just threw a wrench in my reality, right? My timeline shifted. The life that I'd been living began to dismantle quickly as a whole new life came in and dropped into the physical, dropped me into the physical, took me out into the material world more, working like, a job, a retail, regular job. I thought it was just going to be seasonal. And I never saw that coming, right? That was not what I intended. That was not even what I wanted. But everything inside me was, yes, this is the way. Go this way. And it made no sense. I was very confused. When we are following our soul's guidance, it's not going to make sense to the brain, to the personality, and to the attachments of the ego. Oftentimes, it's going to throw the ego and the personality for massive loops, and it's going to create chaos. And out of that chaos comes the transmutation and alchemy of what was and what is and what is coming. And so in order to get here, I feel like from August all the way through February or March, I was in a state of chaos. Everything was shifting and moving and breaking down so rapidly, and then what was coming in and what was healing on deep levels was allowing more of my soul to be embodied. And all of that had to happen in order for this new life to be actualized in the highest good for myself and all, in the highest expression, in a way that is going to up-level me, which is going to mature me, which is going to expand me, which is going to bring more embodiment, more wholeness, deeper faith and trust in life and with Source, and which is going to allow me to know myself, know thyself. So I'm talking about this personally, and yet this is how this process works. And all of those lessons and healings and know thyself and whatever each individual's highest good expression is what is going to manifest and play out when we are actually allowing ourself to be guided by our soul presence or our divinity, by life, with God, by Source. All of it is the same thing. It requires more and more layers of surrender and allowing ourselves to be in the unknown. And if we have a lot of control issues and needs to know, which I certainly did, 2 decades ago, almost, 2.5 decades ago when I started this journey. So those controlling, fear-based aspects of me have been purifying, right, for years and years and years, getting to the subtler and subtler levels of what I cling on to, what I hold on to. And this year feels like the intensity of it, I actually compare with my first year of going through my awakening process in 1996, and then my second big boom in 2000. So those were marked, amplified periods of inner chaos, outer chaos, death, dying, and then rebirthing into my next level of expression. When we're in these processes, when we set out for whatever is in our highest good, right? And that can simply be all that we need to say is, yes, please, divine source, all of my guides, my own highest self, my soul presence, divinely align me with that which is in my highest good and the highest good for all. That doesn't necessarily mean that everything that's going to pan out in the moment to moment, play by play, is going to feel good or is going to seem like, this is for the highest good. It's going to feel painful sometimes. It's going to feel scary sometimes. It's going to feel confusing sometimes. We're going to have resistance against it sometimes. But the longer we're on this path and on this journey, we learn through that direct experience that it's okay just to go along for the ride. So I feel like for the last year, I have been on a roller coaster ride that has dismantled pretty much everything that I was doing previously, which has left like me very confused in my work and in my offerings. And even though, I'm still doing my sessions, those have changed and they've shifted and they've lessened, and I've had to be in like this physical world, regular job, which I haven't worked a regular job like as a norm for decades. So it's been a fascinating experience, but every step of the way has brought out of every moment of chaos and confusion and deep healing. Like I needed to be in this environment. I needed to be with these specific, souls that clearly I've had some contracts with, to do some deeper healing and clearing. I've had to be working within the construct that I'm in order to strengthen parts of me that had, we could say, just gone dormant, fallen asleep, were out of balance. So I needed to bring those back online, and clearly the divine saw this environment as the perfect container for me to do this. And even though it's like for every moment of challenge inside, I knew, right? My soul was like, yes. And I felt enthusiasm, even as I was going through, a lot of clearing of seeds and stories that had been planted and grown, from 1977, right? My 7th grade year. It was interesting to watch how this, this place of employment took me back to some of my biggest stories of my deepest shame and embarrassment, and where I started feeling a sense of lack and unworthiness. So it's been fascinating to get to shine the spotlight on that and see that young girl, what happened and how that moment in time, triggered by this specific place of employment, brought about this shedding and healing and clarity. And I got to bring more of me back home to what was true. That story that had been living in the recesses, because I'd already healed layers of it, but there was still these tendrils, right? The root of it that I hadn't witnessed, I hadn't been able to get to. And boom, I landed in the perfect place. I was given, I was guided against all of my no's. No's, meaning, no, 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 I don't want this. What are we doing? Why are you doing this to me? Like feeling like, I don't know, victimized, not really, but like bantering back and forth with God. Like, I don't get this. I don't get this. Like everything in me is saying yes, but everything in my head is saying no. But once I got in it, once I got in the cauldron, right, of the boiling water, it's like, yeah, I began simmering and being cooked in my own shadow, dissolving so that I could reconnect to my truth. And for the last, 3 or 4 months, I don't know how long, I've been moving out of that story. I guess it's been almost 6 months now. My gosh. Wasn't just seasonal, right? I'm there. I'm loving it. It's balancing my life. It's amazing, right? Not what I saw coming, not what I wanted. But now I can live in an environment that sort of terrified me because of my stories. Now I'm walking a more clarified, purified fullness of myself for however long I'm supposed to be there. I don't know. I'll be shown when my time is up, right? It's not my life purpose. It's not my service, but I do get to be of service and bring, more importantly, all of the light that I work with, all of the higher frequencies and dimensions into the physical plane and connecting with people that I would never connect with normally, right? So it's for a purpose for me, but there's a bigger purpose as well, for the highest good of all. So now here I am in this lovely new space, in another, never saw it coming. These are the two things that I feel like the divine was giving me guidance that would fortify my faith and trust in my own soul presence and in God by guiding me towards things that were so counterintuitive, that were so not what I thought or felt or believed was accurate or aligned for me. So I'm now cohabitating with a lovely, lovely woman who we've been friends, but not close friends, but just like really sweet kindred spirit. And I know you're going to watch this probably at some point. Lovely one. So, so there were 3 invitations that I had in the springtime to move in with people. I don't really like to live with people. I prefer to live by myself if I'm not living with a partner. I tend to be isolatory. I'm a hermit, right? I'm kind of like that Hierophant. I like my alone time. I like being in my own energy. It serves me. And yet, a year ago, I put out, right, like more community. Didn't know what that was going to look like. More connection, more relational intimacy. So I had the place I was going to move out because I knew that I was going to be moving, for a year. I already had the place that I wanted to live. I had it picked out. And And I kept looking, just in case something better showed up, but nothing better was showing up. So I was like, okay, this is the place. Great, cute, little apartment. And I was all set. But then in the spring, I had my first invitation. And I was like, no, 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 I need to live by myself. Then I had a second invitation. And I was like, no, 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 I need to live by myself. I have been living in a roommate situation with my ex-husband, right? Which I can do that because after 20 years, we know how to live together and navigate each other's moods and energies and all that. We separated, we divorced, we lived alone separately for 3 years, I think, and then both of us hit a crisis point at the same time in 22. So then we thought, okay, let's just get a larger space so that we each have our own space, housemate situation. So we did that, and I was ready to live on my own. And then the third invitation came, and I was like, my impulse again was, no, thank you, that's lovely, thank you, no, I need to live by myself. But then I had to stop and go, okay, why does this keep coming? So, all right, life, what are you trying to tell me? Well, clearly life was inviting me into the optimal situation for the intention, the seeds that my soul had already been cultivating since spring and summer last year. For me, it wasn't to live in a physical location with another person, right? I thought, oh, maybe a little tiny home community or something like that, right? Have my own space. So anyway, I listened, and I had to keep going back and forth with my own stories and my own resistance and a little bit of anxiety, and but every time there was an inner yes. It was like God was speaking right through me, right through my body, and all I could feel was peace and peaceful, easy feeling. And so I was like, okay, but my head was full of chatter and chaos and no, this doesn't make any sense, and why would life, why would life do this? I do so well on my own. Well, because I have a lot to learn through not necessarily always being able to be in my own containment. So here I am, and I love it. We are in my sitting room, my little living room, and then I have my bedroom, and we have she has a lovely home, and she has a fur baby, so I love that. She has 2 fur babies. The other one hasn't quite come out to greet me yet. I've only been here for, I think, 3 nights now. So I'm still landing, right? I'm landing the energetics of the new timeline. So these are the nuts and bolts of my personal shift that had to take place, that were transmutations of old me, old beliefs, old storylines that had to go, new energy, new constructs to come in order to bring about my own inner evolution into up-leveling, upgrading, expanding, and grounding me. And that is alchemy, right? These are alchemical processes, and the elements are all a part of this, which I'm not going to break down today. Because again, those do tend to get very nuanced, and they're very personal, and they're very unique to each person. But maybe at another point, I'll be able to talk about it in more of a generalized way. So when we are moving through, I'm going to break this down. This is going a little bit long again. But I hope that you're following this and this is supporting you. So what is change? Right, so I separate change, transition, and transformation in 3 different categories. You know what? I'm not going to go into that now. I'm going to make a different video on that. Piggyback on this one. So now I get to go through the integration process. So when we sensitize more energetically to our own inner elements, right? Our own inner masculine and feminine, when we're able to really discern our soul or higher self communication from our egoic construct and personality, right? Okay. When we're able to play with all of these with expanded awareness, this journey gets easier because we're not taking everything as seriously as literally, and we begin to recognize that energetically everything forms in the element of space, let's just say that, or of ether. And then there is an elemental and an alchemical process as things shift, as literally energetics reconfigure within us, within our energy bodies, our divine blueprint, right, activates to new levels, into new configurations. And then there's an integration process. Now this can go faster sometimes. This has been a long, drawn out process. And now, so I've been like in this, like I started here, an equinox and summer solstice, right? And then there was like, upheaval, more, so I'm sailing. This is how I felt. I'm flying kind of through the air, right? And then Lionsgate, blew up a whole other, just a whole other storyline, lifetime, cycles needed to end. And then that kind of landed. And then I ended up, okay, material world maturation. So then for 6 months, really for 4 months, I was intensely in a cauldron of purification that was very uncomfortable, very painful, but ultimately very freeing, and clarifying. And now I'm in the freedom mode of that. And then it was, okay, landing it in the new physical space, landing this new life in the new physical space. So 2 months ago, I started painting my space, right? I have now left everything that I have been familiar with for years, or even going back to a teenager. I could very well be in a whole different town. So I could very well be in a whole other state for all I know. I am not surrounded really by anything that's familiar. My environment isn't my home. My rooms are, and she's sharing, and I'm making it, partly my home. But as a Cancer crab, Cancers tend to be fairly protective of their home. So sharing it is an interesting experience for me that clearly I get to work through. And now I'm going to be integrating. So I wanted to jump on here, but I just haven't had the clarity, even, the beginning of the clarity, the energy. So I've been giving myself space and time to just decompress. Because when I come and talk with you guys or share anything with you guys, I want to do it from a place that's as present as I can be, where I'm clear on the alignments happening. I'm clear on the intention that I'm wanting to bring forth for you. And that doesn't mean that I can just get on here and talk. I don't operate that way. I need to be in my own alignment where I go, oh, okay, I'm present enough to do this now. Am I like super grounded and present? Not really, but I'm in a pretty good place. So now I'm landing, right? Now I'm decompressing. The energetics last night when I was doing my meditation, I could feel like all of this energy, right? All this energy that has been in flux, like starting to just pour into my being and embody these new structures, embodying these new qualities of me, beginning to embody these new templates of what I get to step into from activating my divine blueprint, now beginning to drop in so that I can begin to know thyself on this new level. I am no longer the same person that I was last year at this time. My life and the consciousness of my life is no longer what it was. The physical life stream is no longer, it no longer exists. It's gone. When we go through transformation, we literally leave identities, personality archetypes, people, places, things behind. It disintegrates if we allow it. And then we come present into a rebirthing process. And then we ground, right? And then we embody, and then we actualize, we walk whatever that soul essence is down through this plane, and then we do it again, and again, and again. So that is the path of transformation, right? So I'm going to stop there. The invitation is, what in your life, if you look back a year ago, what in your life has disintegrated? What trials and tribulations have purified you, alchemized you, expanded you, deepened you? What transformations or periods of change have brought you more deeply in connection with the divine, with God, into faith and trust? How and where have you brought more of you home into your own holy wholeness by your own healing, integrating your shadow, getting clarity on where certain patterns began and where they no longer exist now? And are you co-creating consciously? Are you holding the thread of awareness, right, from point A to point Z through all of the configurations and continuing to stay present and shift courses as per the guidance of life, the divine, source, love. And are you expanding more into love? For me, that's always like a key thing. Am I growing more in love? And am I receiving more love from life, from source? Is there an exchange from myself to others of love in all its forms? So that's the invitation to connect your dots and see how that feels when you look at each point, if you haven't already done that, or if you haven't been journaling, right? Make a map of it and see what is revealed and see what timeline you now are on. Because sometimes we shift timelines and we don't even really know it. When we do that, we are not like, because we're always have the opportunity to do it, but when we do it consciously, we're gleaning the wisdom that goes with it with much more ease and grace. All right, that's all I'm going to say. All right, so good to be back here, and we'll see, right? I'm always in my natural rhythm. All right, much love.